a cinematic crisis unfolds. The Detroit riverfront in April is a striking mix of beauty and hardship. Ice floats slowly past the Ambassador Bridge, streetlights shimmer through steam rising from the city's furnaces, and volunteers brace against the cold, handing out blankets to those who slept on concrete. I was there one freezing morning, watching it all unfold like a scene from a film. But this wasn't some Hollywood set. It was real, raw, and urgent. The folks shivering in worn-out coats weren't playing a part. They were Detroiters trapped in a crisis too often ignored. Homelessness in Detroit isn't just a statistic. It's a counterpoint to the city's polished narrative of rebirth. A reminder that no amount of downtown revitalization can erase the human cost of systemic neglect. Housing, I've come to see, is the foundation of dignity, and without it, everything else, jobs, health, hope, crumbles. This isn't just Detroit's story. It's part of the broader challenge of addressing the homeless in America, where over 770,000 people were counted as homeless on a single night in January 2024. According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development (HUD), Detroit, like many cities, grapples with this reality daily. As I walked among the volunteers, I saw faces etched with exhaustion but also resolve, people determined to make a difference. Their work, and the stories of those they help, inspired me to dig deeper, to uncover the layers of data, history, and lived experience that define this crisis. If you're reading this, I hope you'll stick with me, share your thoughts, and maybe even ask yourself, what does it take to make every corner of your city feel like home for everyone? That question isn't just rhetorical, it's the spark that drives us into the hard numbers and human truths of Detroit's homelessness crisis. What do those numbers tell us about the scale of this challenge, and who's being left behind? Counting the invisible. Detroit's homelessness landscape. Every year, volunteers fan out across Detroit, Hamtramck, and Highland Park to conduct the point-in-time pit count, a snapshot of homelessness mandated by HUD. In January 2024, they tallied 1,725 people experiencing homelessness, 1,420 in emergency shelters or transitional housing, and 305 unsheltered, sleeping on streets, in cars, or in abandoned buildings. This count, set to repeat in January 2025, is imperfect. It's just one night, after all, but it's critical for directing resources and raising awareness. Over the 2022 fiscal year, Detroit's homelessness response system served 8,535 individuals across 5,900 households, including 1,600 families with children and nearly 4,900 single adults. These programs, emergency shelters, rapid rehousing, and permanent supportive housing, handled 3,600, 1,140, and 2,100 households, respectively, though many cycled through multiple programs in search of stability. The numbers paint a stark picture. From 2021 to 2022, 6,221 unique individuals experienced homelessness in Detroit, a 9% increase from the prior period. Even more troubling, 21% of households who secured permanent housing fell back into homelessness within 2 years, and the average shelter stay stretched to 4 months, a sign of how fragile stability can be. These figures aren't just data points. They're stories of people like Terrence, a 28-year-old auto body apprentice I met, who lost his apartment when his landlord sold the building. He spent weeks in a shelter before a rapid rehousing voucher gave him a lifeline, but the fear of what comes after the subsidy ends lingers. Funding is a lifeline, too. In early 2025, Detroit's Continuum of Care COC secured a $40 million HUD grant to expand emergency beds, rapid rehousing vouchers, and supportive apartments. The City Council chipped in $5 million from American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funds for 2025 to 2026, and the mayor added $2.4 million for outreach and prevention. Proposals for FY 2026 aim to boost the homeless services budget by 40%, focusing on case management and crisis response. Yet, The fact that 1 in 5 households slips back into homelessness suggests money alone isn't enough. Smarter coordination, stronger prevention, and a focus on long-term housing are critical to break the cycle. This isn't just a local issue. It's part of the broader epidemic of the homeless in America, where systemic failures drive people into crisis. The question is, what's fueling this cycle in Detroit, and why do so many keep falling through the cracks? The engines of displacement. Why Detroiters lose their homes. Detroit's homelessness crisis didn't appear overnight. It's the residue of decades of economic and social erosion, factory closures that gutted jobs, redlining that starved neighborhoods of investment, and a labor market still reeling from the 2008 crash. Today, the median household income in Detroit hovers around $40,000, half what suburban families earn, while rents have surged 20% since 2020. In Corktown, a 2-bedroom apartment now costs about $1,200 a month, at Michigan's minimum wage of $10.33 as of 2025. A full-time worker earns roughly $430 a week, meaning they'd need to work over 85 hours just to cover rent and utilities. It's no wonder so many teeters on the edge of crisis. Then there's the shadow of structural racism. Redlined neighborhoods, marked off decades ago to deny mortgages and resources, still suffer from crumbling infrastructure and underfunded schools. As developers eye areas like Midtown and Brush Park, property taxes spike, effectively pricing out longtime residents. This isn't just economics. It's a legacy of exclusion that continues to displace Black and low-income Detroiters. Add to that the lack of basic services. 1 in 5 families faces grocery deserts, and entire neighborhoods lack full-service clinics, forcing people to travel miles for care. These barriers compound the struggle, making stability feel like a mirage. The human toll is staggering. In Detroit's shelters, nearly 1 in 3 adults grapples with serious mental health issues: depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, while 1 in 5 battles substance use, from opioids to methamphetamine. Domestic violence survivors, particularly women 1 in 4 in the system, face additional trauma, often fleeing abusive homes with nowhere to turn. Children aren't spared. 30% of Detroit kids live in poverty, growing up in unstable environments that breed truancy and trauma. I think of Cassandra, a 62-year-old grandmother I met, juggling dialysis and raising 3 grandkids. Without a rapid rehousing subsidy, she'd be in a shelter, her family fractured. Even with help, she worries about the day her subsidy runs out. These aren't isolated struggles. They're part of the broader crisis of the homeless in America, where systemic issues like wage stagnation and healthcare deserts push people toward the edge. What if we tackled these root causes, poverty, racism, lack of care, with the same urgency we bring to emergency shelters? That question leads us to the frayed safety net struggling to catch those who fall. A safety net in tatters. Detroit's social safety net is stretched thin, and the costs, human and financial, are staggering. In 2023, unhoused residents made 14,000 emergency room visits, racking up $17 million in uncompensated care at an average of $1,200 per visit. That's money that could have funded hundreds of permanent housing slots. Meanwhile, Detroit police logged over 5,000 arrests for minor quality of life offenses, loitering, trespassing, panhandling, at $85 a day per jail stay. These encounters don't solve homelessness. They're a revolving door, costing more than supportive housing would. Health disparities hit hard. Unhoused Detroiters are twice as likely to face chronic illnesses like hypertension, diabetes, or HIV, with untreated conditions spiraling into costly crises. Think $30,000 a year for advanced diabetes complications. Children bear the burden, too. In the 2023-24 school year, Detroit public schools served over 3,200 homeless students, nearly 8% of enrollment. These kids miss an average of 18 days of school annually, dragging down test scores and raising dropout risks, perpetuating a cycle of poverty and instability. The system itself is overwhelmed. Only 60 full-time case managers serve a nightly homeless population of over 1,700, far from the ideal ratio of one manager per 10 clients. Affordable housing production lags. In 2023, Detroit added 1,500 subsidized apartments, but the need is closer to 5,000 units. Paperwork is another hurdle. Applicants need up to 15 forms and 5 types of ID, from birth certificates to rental histories, a process so daunting many give up. It's no surprise people call the system a revolving door, not a pathway out. This broken net isn't unique to Detroit. It's a symptom of the broader struggle to support the homeless in America, where underfunded systems fail to meet rising needs. What would it take to mend this net, to turn it into a ladder out of crisis rather than a trap? The answer lies in the plans and promises emerging from City Hall. Blueprints, budgets, and bold promises from City Hall. Walking into Detroit's City Hall, you can feel the weight of ambition in the air, blueprints stacked on desks, meetings buzzing with talk of transformation, and a 120-page strategic plan that promises to rewrite the story of homelessness. Over the past 18 months, the Homeless Action Network of Detroit Hand has done something remarkable. They've listened. They held town halls, focus groups, and one-on-one interviews with over 2,000 stakeholders, people sleeping on cots in shelters, outreach workers braving icy alleys, small landlords navigating red tape, and pastors opening church basements to those in need. The result is a roadmap for 2024 to 2028 that dares to move beyond Band-Aid fixes and tackle the crisis head-on. At its heart, the plan hinges on 3 big swings. First, it aims to overhaul the coordinated entry system, which too often feels like a bureaucratic maze. The goal is to ensure that anyone walking into a partner agency meets a trained housing navigator within 48 hours. To make this happen, the city has budgeted $4 million to hire and train 50 new navigators, doubling the current roster and launching a 24/7 hotline. Second, rapid rehousing vouchers are getting a serious upgrade. Instead of a 6-month patch, the city will cover full rent for a year, capped at $1,500 per household per month, requiring an additional $12 million in HUD and local funds. Third, the plan commits to delivering 870 new permanent supportive housing units by 2027, each equipped with on-site case managers, transportation stipends, and telepsychiatry pods to provide round-the-clock mental health support. Funding these ambitions is no small feat. Detroit has secured a $40 million HUD Continuum of Care grant and $15 million from American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funds. But both come with use it or lose it deadlines by mid-2027. The City Council has redirected $6 million from general funds to homelessness services. But finding recurring revenue to sustain these expansions beyond 3 years remains a challenge. I visited Clay Street Commons, a shining example of what's possible. 76 formerly unhoused veterans now live there, tending community gardens, sharing high-speed Wi-Fi, and leading peer-run yoga sessions. It's a place that feels like hope made tangible. Yet, just 2 blocks away, I saw 5 crumbling 4-flats, windows boarded, utilities cut off, standing as a stark reminder of the gap between promise and reality. These efforts show Detroit's determination to address a crisis that's part of the larger struggle of the homeless in America, where bold plans often crash against the rocks of execution. The question lingers, are these blueprints the dawn of lasting change, or just another round of press releases destined to gather dust? The answer might lie in the neighborhoods, where everyday people are already building solutions from the ground up. Ground-up solutions, neighbors, nonprofits, and a new kind of horsepower. If City Hall holds the blueprints, Detroit's neighborhoods are where the real construction happens. Out here, away from the conference rooms, I've met people who don't wait for permission to act. They just do. Take the Coalition on Temporary Shelter Cots, for example. They don't just offer beds. They connect families leaving shelters with career coaches who guide them into union apprenticeship programs, plumbing, electrical work, carpentry, trades that pay enough to keep up with Detroit's rising rents. These coaches go the extra mile, driving clients to training sites, helping secure toolkits, and mentoring them through those nerve-wracking first weeks on a job site. I met a young mother at COTS who'd just landed a carpentry apprenticeship. Her pride as she showed me her first paycheck was infectious. Then there's Mariners Inn on Cass Avenue, a recovery center with nearly a century of history. They've reimagined outreach with mobile medication-assisted treatment vans that patrol hotspots day and night, stocked with naloxone kits, harm reduction supplies, and, surprisingly, a fresh pot of coffee for anyone who needs a warm cup. In just 12 months, these vans helped cut overdose-related fatalities in their service area by 14%. It's a reminder that sometimes the most powerful solutions are the simplest. Meeting people where they are, literally and figuratively. I rode along with one of their teams one evening, watching them hand out supplies and listen to stories of struggle and resilience. It felt like the kind of work that changes lives one conversation at a time. And then there's Andy Na's Village on Yellowstone Street, a place that could have been written off as another condemned duplex. Instead, Naomi Andy Na Thompson turned it into a vibrant microcampus. Out front, a weekend produce stand fights food deserts, giving families access to fresh fruits and vegetables. Upstairs, a STEAM lab hosts coding and robotics workshops for neighborhood kids, sparking dreams of futures beyond the streets. In the backyard, prototype tiny homes with solar panels, rainwater harvesting, and communal fire pits offer a glimpse of low-cost living that balances privacy with community. I walked through that backyard, marveling at how a single person's vision could transform a forgotten lot into a beacon of possibility. What makes these initiatives stand out is their agility, local knowledge, small budgets, and a refusal to wait for bureaucracy to catch up. They're chipping away at the homelessness crisis faster than any single grant could. Detroit isn't just a city receiving charity, it's writing its own comeback story. Imagine if City Hall matched this energy with flexible funding, faster permits, and official backing for these grassroots models. That kind of partnership could be the spark that turns the tide. But what's the cost of standing still, and what could we gain by investing boldly in solutions like these? The price of inaction versus the payoff of bold investment. Every time I crunch the numbers, the verdict is clear: ignoring homelessness is a budgetary black hole. A 2023 University of Michigan study found that one unhoused person cycling through emergency rooms, jails, and shelters costs the public about $39,500 a year, nearly double the $20,500 it takes to provide permanent supportive housing with wraparound services. Scale that across Detroit's 1,725 unsheltered residents. And you're looking at a $68 million annual drain in uncompensated care. Factor in the 8,535 individuals who touch the system over a fiscal year, and the avoidable cost balloon past $300 million. These aren't just numbers. They're a wake-up call that doing nothing is more expensive than doing something. Detroit's corporate sector is starting to see it. In early 2024, Ford Motor Company pledged $5 million to a Housing Stability Innovation Fund, betting that stable homes mean a steadier workforce with fewer sick days. Rocket Community Fund followed with $2 million for eviction prevention legal aid, after learning that nearly half their downtown call center employees faced housing uncertainty during the pandemic. Even smaller players like TechTown, a local tech startup, chipped in $250,000 for a digital safety net, connecting unhoused residents to telehealth, online job portals, and virtual case management to cut down on costly in-person crises. These investments show a growing recognition that addressing homelessness isn't just moral, it's smart economics. Policy is stepping up, too. Detroit's FY 2026 budget proposal boosts homeless services from $6 million to $8.4 million, a 40% jump aimed at expanding case management and crisis response. The $40 million HUD grant targets 295 new emergency beds, 255 rapid rehousing units, and 870 permanent supportive apartments by 2027. Studies show that every dollar spent on Housing First programs saves $1.60 in healthcare, justice, and social service costs over 5 years. But the real impact isn't in spreadsheets. It's in lives like Terrence's, the auto body apprentice I mentioned earlier, who sends me photos of his restored '65 Mustang. Proof that stability unlocks opportunity. Or Cassandra, the grandmother managing dialysis and raising her grandkids, who's keeping her family together thanks to a housing subsidy, but worries about what happens when it runs out next spring. These stories show that solutions need more than bricks. They need bonds, community networks, mentors, case managers to catch people before they fall. Across the country, the homeless in America face similar challenges, and Detroit's mix of policy and philanthropy could offer a model. But can this city's plans and grassroots grit teach other cities how to turn the tide? A roadmap for change. Lessons from Detroit. Detroit's homelessness crisis isn't an accident. It's the result of wage stagnation, structural racism, shredded safety nets, and a housing market that prioritizes profit over people. But it's not inevitable. The same forces that hollowed out this city, resourcefulness, grit, and community, can fuel its recovery. Detroit's 2024 to 2028 strategic plan lays out a scaffolding: coordinated entry, longer-term vouchers, and permanent housing with support. Grassroots groups like COTS, Mariners Inn, and Anina's Village provide the muscle, proving that small, agile solutions can outpace bureaucracy. Private players like Ford and Rocket are loosening purse strings, showing that business has a stake in stability. Yet, success hinges on more than plans and passion. It requires sustained political will, transparent data, and a commitment to treat shelter as a human right, not a lottery prize. I've seen what happens when that commitment falters. People like Terrence and Cassandra, who've clawed their way to stability, live with the constant fear of falling back. Detroit's story is a microcosm of the broader fight against homelessness in America, where systemic change is slow but possible. Other cities can learn from this, invest in housing first, empower local innovators, and back it all with policy that doesn't quit. So here's my ask: share this story. Talk about it with your neighbors, your leaders, your friends. Push for evidence-based solutions like housing first models in your own community. Detroit's not perfect, but it's fighting hard. And if a city with its scars can dream this big, maybe yours can, too. Because no city truly rises when its neighbors sleep in the cold.